Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So you should be on page 100, and you should be looking at the map and filling out the map. Jennifer, why are you filling out the map? Yeah, page 100. Everybody should have already turned to page 100 and written something in your book. So last week we were talking about crime and criminals. So this activity on page 100 is just to get your mind going, starting to think about the brainstorming, about what we were talking about last week, about crime, criminals, and the different kinds of crime. So just try to fill out the map. You guys have done this kind of thing in your writing class, right? Yeah, okay, so go ahead and very quickly and fill out the map. And then I will choose a couple of people to come to the board and write your map on the board. So you can do the map with a partner, okay? You can complete your mapping activity with a partner. So try to think of as much as you can related to crime. All right, let's have Jill and Varys come to the board and draw their map for us. Thank you, Jill and Varys. You can draw it right here, it's fine. So while they're drawing their map, generating some ideas, I want you guys to look on page 100 at the bottom. So in every kind of field of work that you go into, there will be specific vocabulary words that are related to that field. And those vocabulary are called technical terms. Put it here, please. Thank you. So you guys keep going. Just finish it. All right, you can just combine them together.
In one picture.
Yes, of course. And then later we can get some more answers from other people. Okay, so let's have a look while they're doing that. Let's have a look on the bottom of page 100. As I was saying, there are, with every kind of field, there are technical terms that are only related to that field. And crime is no exception. There are a lot of special types of words used for different types of crimes. So I want to go over those with you. So we have listed here arson. Please have a look at your book. Don't pay attention to these girls, okay? We'll talk about them later. Look at your book. So we have arson, which means it's when you set property on fire. Like either property, or it could be a building or a school or any just land. It doesn't have to be a house or a structure, but when you set a fire on someone's land or property, that's called arson. And then burglary. That means when you steal something from someone, but you have to go inside of a house, or inside of a building, or inside of some kind of business. Then there's motor vehicle theft. And that means when you steal a car, some kind of car or some kind of automobile that you drive. Next is murder, and of course that means to kill someone, but you can also call murder homicide. Rape, and that means forcing someone to have sexual relations with you. Shoplifting, that's when you steal something from some kind of store, some kind of business where you take the item and put it away so people can't see it and then you walk out. That's shoplifting. And weapons possession. Like I told you before, in the United States we can own guns, right? But you have to have a license to own that gun. If you somehow possess a gun but do not have the permit or the license for this weapon, then that's illegal. Okay, are there any questions about any of these vocabulary words? Have any questions about these? These different crime-related words? No? You got it? You understand all of them?
Does
Yes?
burglary have to do it at night or just?
No, burglary can be anytime, because maybe, for example, if I went on vacation, maybe the people would come, the criminals would come to burgle my goods, you know, the things from my house while I'm on vacation during the day.
Is it like burglary or something?
Can you say that again?
Bank?
Bank?
Can they?
That's, we usually call that robbery, because they're using a gun and ask for something. Burglary happens when the people are not there.
Yeah, when the bank are off.
You mean when the bank is closed?
Closed, and then,
We will still, I think that's a good question, but banking is a special situation, and we usually say they robbed the bank. We won't say they burgled the bank.
How about jewelry store?
Jewelry store? Yes, that's burglary.
The bank is robbed.
I don't know, because it seems we only use rob. They rob the bank, whether it's during the day or night. Burglary usually, I think, is more associated with objects and things instead of with money. But of course, someone can burgle money from your house as well. Okay, girls, please stay up here. Girls, you're going to be my helpers for the next part. So let's have a look at the things. Let's go back up to number 1, and let's have a look at some of the things they've mentioned related to crime. They have money, sex, social situations, abuse, murder, okay, setting fires, a robber, thief, prison, shops, bank. What's the word at the top?
Street.
Oh, street. Sorry, I couldn't see that. Yeah, a lot of crime will happen on the street. Is there anything that any of you would like to add? Sheila, do you have something on your paper that's not on the map on the board?
Benefits.
What's that? Benefits?
Yes.
Why did you add the word benefits?
Because somebody will, in order to get some benefits and to earn.
Oh, they want something, so okay. You want to add it? Why not? Benefits. Can you add it? Maybe, yeah, right there with money. Penny, how about you? Do you have anything on the board? I mean, that is not on the board, that's on your paper?
Drugs.
Drugs. That's a good one. Drugs. Could be anywhere. It could be drugs. Could be related to abuse or murder. Could be related to money. Could be related to a lot of things, right? Okay, so you can see there's a lot of things going on in the background related to crime. Why crime happens, and what causes a criminal to act in a certain way. Okay, thank you, girls. Very good. Give them a hand. Okay, so now that we've started talking about some of these crimes, and I gave you an overview of some some of the various crimes and their definitions. I'm going to play the CD, and on the CD there are some reports of certain crimes. They don't say this person committed arson, but you will be able to tell from the CD what kind of crime is being reported. And then you need to write the report number in your book. So they'll say report 1, they'll say 2, 3, and you just try to find the description that will match the different type of crime, okay? So I will play the CD for you now. Does everybody understand the directions? Got it? Okay.
这是没有说。
这个好像有点手手。
Chapter 7, Crime and Criminals. Page 100. Building background knowledge on the topic. Technical terms. Step 1. 1.
A gold watch and a necklace were stolen from a home on Woodfield Avenue. The criminals entered the house through a bathroom window.
2.
A man was arrested at midnight on Harper Street because he was carrying a handgun without a license. He was taken to the police station for questioning.
3.
There's breaking news in the sexual assault case that we reported last week. Police have charged a man in connection with 2 similar cases that took place in the same neighborhood.
4.
A woman in her late 30s was found taking items from the local pharmacy. She was caught on camera as she was putting the items in her pocket.
5.
2 teenage boys were arrested for setting their school on fire. They entered the school after classes were over and set fire to the teacher's lounge. Luckily, no one was hurt.
6.
A car that was stolen from a supermarket parking lot was found near an old house by the railroad tracks. No one has been arrested yet in connection with the crime.
7.
A jealous ex-boyfriend has been charged in the killing of 2 young people in their 20s. The couple had been planning to get married.
Now complete the sentence.
Okay, go ahead and quickly compare your answers with a partner. See if you guys heard the same thing. Okay, how about the first one, arson, setting property on fire. Carrie, which one was that?
5.
5, right. And burglary, Tanya? 1. Yes, 1. And let's see, motor vehicle theft. Joanna?
6.
6, that's correct. Portia, how about murder?
7.
Yes. Michelle, rape? You guys have changed around on me. You switched places. Yeah. Okay, that's correct. And let's see, rape. Joyce? 3, that's correct. And shoplifting, Paris?
4.
4, right. And of course we will know that weapons possession is number 2. Okay, now we're going to listen to, actually it's 2 interviews. One is with a couple and another is with a single male and female. The couple is going to talk about their feelings about crime, especially since they have a young child. And Gail and Tom, the two singles, are going to talk about their experience being crime victims. Okay, because so they've had some kind of crime happen to them. But before we get started, let's build up our background knowledge on the topic of crime, especially crime in the United States. And on page 101, we have two charts here, and the two pie charts help us visualize arrests by age group in the United States, and also arrests by gender. So what you need to do in this activity is make a guess. How many percent do you think for those three different age groups are arrested by age? Do you think that more older people commit crimes, more younger people, or kind of people in the middle-aged range? And then also, who do you think commits the most crimes in the United States, males or females? So go ahead and make your guess, and then discuss for a couple of minutes with a partner why you guessed the way that you did. And then be prepared to give me an answer about why you guessed in that way. All right, let's hear from someone about the arrest by age group. Sabrina, which age group did you pick that was 45.5%?
25 through 35.
So 25 through 35?
Yeah.
Why did you choose this group instead of maybe the older or the younger?
I just probably from the news we hear you don't see like arrest from the police are.
So you usually see the people in the middle when what you see reported on the news?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll see. And how about arrests by gender? Justin, what did you mark down for the arrest by gender? Who's committing more crimes, do you think?
Now,
Why did you guess males?
because according to the newspaper or civil news on TV, and it almost male dynamics that commit more crimes.
Okay. Go ahead and look on page 102 at the bottom. You can check your answers, see if your guesses were correct or not. As you can see, in the United States, the people who are committing the crimes are actually the ones under 25 years old. It's the young people that are committing the crimes. Why do you think that young people would be the ones who are committing the crimes in the United States? What do you think would lead to those young people to commit crimes?
They are not mature enough and they took some drugs from any money and so they robbed or something like that.
So what did you say? Can you say it louder? I can hear you. The air
I mean,
condition.
because they are not mature enough and probably they took drugs or they attend a gangster, they join a gang.
Yeah, maybe they are not mature, or they're still naive, and they're still making some decisions about what is right and wrong.
They don't know their sense of judgment is there.
Their sense of judgment. Okay. Justin, what do you think?
I think still innocent and they can tell from good and bad.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that similar to what Sabrina said. I think a lot of it has to do with influence from not having maybe good role models as well. Okay, so you guys should have already had a look at the vocabulary. You should have done that as homework, but just in case you didn't have a chance or just for a quick review, I want to go over the vocabulary with you, and then I'll give you a chance to ask some questions. So you can repeat the vocabulary after me if you want. I've never actually been struck by a crime. Okay, you can repeat the vocabulary. Struck. Okay. I see big groups of kids roaming the streets. Roaming. Okay, if it's a rowdy teenage group, rowdy. Guns might not be visible. Visible. I've never seen anyone with a gun, and much less seen a shooting. Much less. Okay, page 102. It's very random. That's what worries me. Random. A bullet struck him in the leg. Bullet. Kids who get into gangs don't have that much contact with other people. Gangs. 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 Not gangs. 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 Not guns. Gangs. Okay, well, work on it. It's a recipe for disaster. Recipe for disaster. The government has such a slack attitude toward guns. Slack. Okay. Do you guys think that when you guys go out into the hallway, you're very rowdy? Ferris, are you very rowdy when you go out into the hallway? Rowdy?
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, right? Kind of rowdy. Does anybody have any questions about these vocabulary words?
Struck.
Struck?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It means affected, yeah.
Is that
Here.
the past tense for strike?
Yes. That's correct. I want to talk about, let me just mention something about recipe for disaster. Everyone knows what a recipe is, right? You mix different ingredients together. When you cook food, when you make food, you need to mix different things together. That's your recipe telling you what to do. So a recipe for disaster is when you put two things together that don't work well together or don't go well together. And then that will make a disaster. For example, if you put two people in a group together that really hate each other, that's a recipe for disaster because they're probably going to end up fighting with each other, right? And then the situation is going to be very negative.
I mean, isn't like strike means like hit someone?
Yes, that-
Here is like-
Yes, if you hit someone, that's strike as well. But it can also have another meaning just to be like affected or, you know, like the strike you're talking about is like if someone hits you or like if lightning strikes, if the lightning hits you, that's physical. But if someone is just affected, you know, by something, you know, crime could strike. It just means affected. It could occur. Something could occur. An earthquake could strike at any minute.
Oh, okay.
Okay, an earthquake could strike at any minute. You know, it could just some occurrence could happen, and you will be affected by it.
This roam is synonym for wander.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. Wander around. Any other vocabulary questions? Okay, let's look at page 102. There's a picture of Arapad, I think is his name, Daniel and Evelina. So there are some true and false questions. Remember last semester in reading class and also in this class I told you got to be careful with true and false questions because sometimes part of the statement will be true and part of the statement will be false. So that means the whole thing is false, right? So go ahead and have a look at these 8 statements, and then you can make a guess based on the vocabulary and based on the idea we just know they're a married couple and have a kid. Do you think that they will answer these as true or false? And then we will listen to the CD and you can check your answers. So right now, just making a guess, predicting.
City.
Luckily, I've never actually been struck by crime. But, well, personally, it doesn't affect me that much. But I hear so many stories and I see it on the TV news, so I'm aware of it and concerned about it. Sometimes I'm out late at night and I see big groups of kids roaming the streets, and that frightens me.
And you are Ped?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If it's a rowdy teenage group, I go over to the other side of the street. I'm tall, but still I try to avoid them.
And what I think is that they should be doing something else.
Do you worry that violence could affect your life?
I do, to be honest. Every time I get on the subway, I'm afraid that someone in the car could have a gun. Guns might not be visible, but they're everywhere, and at any minute, people can lose control. Guns are my biggest fear. I think guns are the biggest problem in the city.
And you are Ped?
Well, I've never seen anyone with a gun, and much less seen a shooting. But just last week, someone got shot in a bookstore, in the safest part of the city. It's very random, that's what worries me. There was another incident where a kid was asleep, and there was a shot from the apartment next door that went through the wall, and the bullet struck him in the leg. You're not even safe in your own house.
Why do you think there is so much crime?
Because kids think guns are ordinary. They're available. They're just facts of life. It's a recipe for disaster.
I think that kids don't have enough contact with their parents. Basically, kids who get into gangs don't have that much contact with other people. You know what I'm trying to say?
I agree with Evelina. Parents are the main people that need to be responsible for their children. My sister's a teacher, and she says it's amazing. Some parents think that school is responsible for teaching kids values, but that's not what I think.
So many problems come from the fact that parents can't spend enough time with their kids.
And gun control should be the government's responsibility. If there were fewer guns, that would definitely bring crime down.
Yeah, the government has such a slack attitude toward guns. I really agree with Arpad.
Now complete the steps in your book.
Okay, take a moment to compare your answers with someone else, and then we'll go over these answers together as a class. Alright, how about the first one? Evelina is concerned about the crime news that she sees on TV. Betty, true or false? True, right. She mentioned that she saw the crime news on TV all the time and is very concerned about it. Okay, number 2. Arapet is not bothered by loud groups of teenagers on the street. True or false? Zois? False. He said that when he saw that he thought that those crowds bothered him, and what would he do when he would see them on the street? Do you remember, Zois? You don't remember? Edward, do you remember? Right, he will go to the other side of the street when he sees those rowdy teenagers. Okay, let's see, number 3. Evelina is not worried about the availability of guns. Jennifer? False, right. She said that that's one of the biggest concerns that the city should have, and that's the reason that it's not safe and that she fears living in the city. Okay, number 4. Arapad says that someone was recently shot in a local restaurant. True or false? Tom?
False.
False. Where was the person shot? Bookstore, right. That was one of the trick questions. Okay, number 5. Evelina says that parents need to have more contact with their children. Edward, true or false? True. That's exactly right. She said that's the problem. People depend. They think they don't. The kids have the problems because they don't have enough time at home with their parents. Okay, number 6. Arapet blames the high levels of crime on the availability of guns. Penny? True, that's right. Number 7, Arapet thinks that teachers have the main responsibility for teaching values to children. Sheila, true or false? False. So who did Arapet and Evelina think had the responsibility for teaching children? Parents, yeah. Said that, and also he said that the parents do not spend enough time with their children, so that's why there's so much violence in the world. And number 8, Arapad supports gun control by the government. True or false? Jill? True, right. Because both him and his wife complained about the availability of guns and how slack the government was on gun control. Let's see. It's about time for a break, so let's go ahead and just take our 10-minute break, and when we come back, we will go over the next interview. Okay, so let's go to the next interview. Let me go ahead and go over these vocabulary. You should have already read these for homework like the others, but I'll just go over them one more time. So, once I was mugged by some young kids. Mugged. You're ruining your lives. Ruining. Kids like that don't need prosecuting. Prosecuting. Kids are so vulnerable. Vulnerable. It's almost a macho type of thing. Macho. Macho. The apartment was ransacked. Ransacked. Do you know macho? Do you know macho, macho man? You gotta be a macho man. Do you know this song? Do you know this song? Okay, I'll play it next time for you, okay? I'll get the lyrics. I'll get the lyrics. And you will never forget the word macho ever again, okay? Okay, I lost irreplaceable personal items. Irreplaceable. It's like a feeling of violation. Violation. I called the police so that I could have a record of what was stolen for tax purposes. I've had things taken by pickpockets. It had symbolic value. Symbolic. Okay, so let me go over a couple of these. One easy way to remember ransacked is, think about another way for a bag, to call a bag is a sack. Okay, a sack is another way to call a bag. So usually I think this word comes from people running somewhere with a bag and putting your stuff inside it. So when somewhere is ransacked, you know, everything has been gone through and things have been stolen. So ransacked. And pickpockets, of course, someone will pick or take something from your pocket. And that's a pickpocket, the person who will steal things like your wallet or anything, money, from your pockets. Are there any questions about any of these vocabulary words?
What's the difference between ransack and burglar?
Okay, if your house is burgled, maybe you won't automatically know that when you walk through the door. Maybe they do not disturb anything. They just go to the very, they already know where something is and they just take it. But ransacked, everything will look disturbed and they will knock things over and they've went through all of your things looking for the valuable goods.
But they still breaking into them.
Well, I guess for ransack, someone could have broke in, or I guess if you left your key open, you didn't take your key and you left your door open, so. Any other questions? Tom, you have a question? Are you sure? Okay. So, we're going to hear from Gail and Tom. There are 4 questions here that will help you in your listening. So have a look at those 4 questions and read over them. And while you're listening to the interviews, try to jot down the answers to these questions. Okay?
Chapter 7, Crime and Criminals. Page 103. Retelling what you have heard. Step 2.
Gail, I know you've been the victim of a crime.
Unfortunately, yes. Once I was mugged by some young kids.
What happened?
I was going home late at night, and I couldn't see a single person on the street. And it was winter. Oh, it was so cold. So I had my scarf wrapped around my face, and then, suddenly, I walked straight into these 3 guys. They looked about 14 or 15, and they said something threatening like, "Give us all your money, we're gonna kill you." And I'm looking at them because they look so young, and I'm thinking, what on earth are you doing? They said, blah, 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 and I said, listen, it's very cold, give me a second, I have to take off my gloves.
You must have been really scared.
Well, I opened my purse, and all I've got is a few dollars. I was so nervous. And I say, here it is. And they say, $4? Yeah, it's $4. And they say, that's all you have?
So then what happened?
Well, I gave them the money, and I just went home. But I felt so bad. You know, I really had mixed feelings about it. I wanted to say, guys, what are you doing? You know, go home. You're ruining your lives. And I think, why are those kids on the street doing things they're not supposed to? Something stupid, really stupid, that could lead to something worse.
Why do you think kids get involved in stealing?
I don't know. I mean, it was only $4. You look at kids getting involved in this kind of small crime and you think, who's responsible? I don't know what they were doing out on the street at that time of night.
Did you report the crime?
No, I didn't. Kids like that don't need prosecuting. They need parenting. They need someone to put them on the right path. These kids really need, you know, help.
In what way?
Well, kids are so vulnerable. They have to get a lot of supervision. There are these kids hanging out on the street, doing things they're not supposed to. It's almost a macho type of thing. But I think if these kids had more self-esteem, they wouldn't behave in that way. We have to find ways to help these kinds of kids have good futures. Then they wouldn't commit crimes.
What about you, Tom? What was your experience?
Well, actually, I was robbed several times. The worst time was when my apartment was burglarized. I got home and saw the lock on my door had been broken and the apartment was ransacked.
What was taken?
They took my camera, my stereo, my paperwork. I lost irreplaceable personal items.
Were you scared?
No, I was angry. And I felt helpless because I knew I could never find out what really happened. And I knew I'd never get my stuff back. It's like a feeling of violation when you know that someone has broken into your private space and taken your things. I called the police so that I could have a record of what was stolen for tax purposes, but they never caught the thief.
And that wasn't the first time you were robbed?
No, I've had things taken by pickpockets. Once someone took my wallet on the subway, and there was a letter from my girlfriend in it that I like to carry around with me. Not really important, I suppose, but it had symbolic value. And when something like that happens, you lose a part of your past. That time I felt angry at myself because they always tell you not to put your wallet in your back pocket.
Now complete the steps in your book.
All right, go ahead and compare your answers to those 4 questions to someone sitting next to you, and then I'll let you share your answers with the class. What's wrong, Darius? Are you all right? Oh, that's okay. Try your best. You'll get to hear it again later. Ask Jill. I'm sure Jill understood. She can help you.
Is mug similar to rob?
What? Can you say that again?
Mug.
Mug.
Similar to
Yeah,
rob.
that's when. Okay, for example, if we say you were burglarized, robbed is equal to burglarized, but robbed is also equal to mugged. Robbed is kind of overall term to mean something was taken from you, okay? Robbed is the overall big generic term to mean something was stolen from you. But if you say mugged, someone does it face to face, okay? If you say burglarized, you're not there when it happens. Well, at least the robber hopes that you're not there. If they come into your house and you happen to be there, it will probably turn into a mugging. You get what I'm saying?
So robbed can also.
Robbed is a general term.
Not in person. I saw
Oh.
robbed.
Robbed is a general way, but mugged is face to face. Give me your money. And burglary is you're away. They come to your house and take the things out of your house or your business or wherever. Yeah. Okay. So the first one, what happened to Gail? Where was she and what was stolen? Okay. Okay, so what happened to Gail? Right. And what did they steal from her? Only $4. And where did it happen? On the street, right. Okay, number 2, what was stolen from Tom and where and how? Tom? What was stolen from Tom?
Maybe the
Camera from his house and stereo.
maybe cell phone.
Did he say cell phone?
No, but we don't. I don't know.
But he also had what else stolen from him? Wallet. Oh yeah, his wallet. So how was the wallet stolen from him? Who stole the wallet from him?
The young guy in the sun.
Pickpockets, right? Pickpockets, because he put the wallet in his back pocket. And he said, oh, people always tell you not to do that, but he still did it and someone stole it from him. Okay, so, Justin, how did they feel about being victims of crime? How did Gail feel and how did Tom feel?
She didn't blame on lost kid, but and he says lost kids, they don't need prosecuting, and they need someone to put them on the right way.
Right, that's what Gail. How about Tom? What did Tom say?
He feels really angry.
Yeah, he's kind of angry about it because probably because it's happened to him so many times. And if I'm Tom, his robbery was much more expensive than Gail. Hers only $4. Not a big deal. Okay, did they report the incidents? Sabrina, did they report?
Gail didn't, but Tom did for review for tax purposes.
Yeah, for tax purposes. Because he can list that on his taxes and then he won't be charged for that amount of income because his stuff is just gone. It's disappeared. Okay, now what I want to do is I want us to practice oral summarizing. So if you look at the top of page 104, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this interview of Gail and Tom one more time. This time I want you to try to take notes on your paper. And then later I'm going to let you in pairs practice orally summarizing to each other the incidents that Gail and Tom described. And then later I will choose a couple of people from the class to orally summarize their stories. So it's just like when you hear a story in Chinese and you need to tell someone else the latest gossip, right? And you will just retell it. You're not going to have notes, right? When you hear that in Chinese, if someone tells you a story, you'll just tell the other person. You won't refer back to your notes. And because of that, maybe the things that you say is not exactly what the person who told you the story, what they said to you. It will change a little bit, right? So that's okay for this practice, for oral summarizing, if you change it a little bit, because you're putting it in your own words, and you don't need to look at any notes. So first I'll play the CD, you'll hear the interviews again, you'll take notes. You can study your notes for a little bit, then you can put them away. And then you can practice telling each other what happened to Tom and what happened to Gail. And then later I'll choose two of you to tell me what happened to Tom and Gail out loud in the class. Okay? Does everybody understand what we're going to do? Any questions? No? Okay, then let me play the interview one more time. You can take notes anywhere, on your book or on paper. Everything is okay. Whatever you want to do.
Chapter 7, Crime and Criminals. Page 103. Retelling what you have heard. Step 2.
Gail, I know you've been the victim of a crime.
Unfortunately, yes. Once I was mugged by some young kids.
What happened?
I was going home late at night, and I couldn't see a single person on the street. And it was winter. Oh, it was so cold. So I had my scarf wrapped around my face, and then, suddenly, I walked straight into these three guys. They looked about 14 or 15, and they said something threatening like, "Give us all your money, we're gonna kill you." And I'm looking at them because they looked so young, and I'm thinking, what on earth are you doing? They said, blah, 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 and I said, "Listen, it's very cold. Give me a second, I have to take off my gloves."
You must have been really scared.
Well, I opened my purse, and all I've got is a few dollars. I was so nervous. And I say, "Here it is." And they say, $4? Yeah, it's $4. And they say, "That's all you have?"
So then what happened?
Well, I gave them the money, and I just went home. But I felt so bad. I really had mixed feelings about it. I wanted to say, "Guys, what are you doing? Go home. You're ruining your lives." And I think, why are those kids on the street doing things they're not supposed to? Something stupid, really stupid, that could lead to something worse.
Why do you think kids get involved in stealing?
I don't know. I mean, it was only $4. You look at kids getting involved in this kind of small crime and you think, who's responsible? I don't know what they were doing out on the street at that time of night.
Did you report the crime?
No, I didn't. Kids like that don't need prosecuting. They need parenting. They need someone to put them on the right path. These kids really need, help.
In what way?
Well, kids are so vulnerable. They have to get a lot of supervision. There are these kids hanging out on the street, doing things they're not supposed to. It's almost a macho type of thing. But I think if these kids had more self-esteem, they wouldn't behave in that way. We have to find ways to help these kinds of kids have good futures. Then they wouldn't commit crimes.
What about you, Tom? What was your experience?
Well, actually, I was robbed several times. The worst time was when my apartment was burglarized. I got home and saw the lock on my door had been broken and the apartment was ransacked.
What was taken?
They took my camera, my stereo, my paperwork. I lost irreplaceable personal items.
Were you scared?
No, I was angry. And I felt helpless because I knew I could never find out what really happened. And I knew I'd never get my stuff back. It's like a feeling of violation when you know that someone has broken into your private space and taken your things. I called the police so that I could have a record of what was stolen for tax purposes, but they never caught the thief.
And that wasn't the first time you were robbed?
No, I've had things taken by pickpockets. Once someone took my wallet in the subway, and there was a letter from my girlfriend in it that I like to carry around with me. Not really important, I suppose, but it had symbolic value. And when something like that happens, you lose a part of your past. That time I felt angry at myself because they always tell you not to put your wallet in your back pocket.
Now complete the steps in your book.
Alright, so now what I want you to do, quickly study your notes and then practice takes turns practicing orally summarizing the events that Gail and Tom described involving crimes.
这是什么？
啊？我不知道 ，Steam 也超好玩。
是吗？还是没有那个了？胶卷？是叫5分钟吗？
可能哦。
是今天要去吗
对啊，等一下要去啊。
？6:20啊。
6:20在校门口见。
啊，小童他们
对，他们会回来的。
赶着回来吗？
赶紧回来吗？
可能就是要等一下。啊，怎么去？
啊？
我骑。
就骑摩托车，你没有骑台车？
有，我载小童。我们在一起就只有我跟小童。
只有你跟小童。
啊，我有车。
你有车。我也载一个啊。你可以载一个，今年载一个。这样 OK，
这样够了吧？不是8个人而已吗？就够。草莓钥匙锁在他摩托车下面。
这个有啊。这个你要去吗？
And he always reported it to the police. ，Don't try to call, just to make me feel sorry for you. So you came to make everyone safe in your class. so hot. I'm very nervous. Alright, seems like everybody is all set. So let's have Edward stand up for us and tell us what happened to Gail. Would you mind to stand up? Close your book.
There was one night in winter. On Gail's way home, he was mugged by a few teenagers, and she was shocked. And those teenagers said, "Give them money, or they will kill her." Then the Gail nervously take out his pocket, take out his wallet, and get only $4, and give money to those teenagers. But those teenagers still think it is not much enough. But that's all Gail got at that time. And then after giving them the money, Gail get home